Hi, welcome to This Week in Ames. I'm Susan Guiazda. On today's show, we check in with the Ames Fire Department. My guest today is Deputy Fire Chief Rich Higgins. Rich, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Susan.
So, Rich, you have a fairly extensive career here at the City of Ames. Tell us a little bit about how you came to be a firefighter.
Being a firefighter was something that I always wanted to do. I grew up in a small town where we had a great volunteer fire department, and I did not know that there was actually a career for firefighting. I thought that I would go to Iowa State, get my engineering degree, and I would be a volunteer firefighter. Well, my second year of college, I learned that you could actually be a career firefighter. I learned that from a couple of Ames firefighters that I happened to run into, and so then I went through the recruit academy and started pursuing my degree in fire science and ended up getting hired on at the Ames Fire Department. So.
Wow, that's great, and here you are today.
Yeah, kind of crazy how things play out.
And it's funny, we're at the time of year where students are coming back to Ames. The dorms are starting to fill, and we'll have a lot of new people in the community.
Yes, absolutely. Things are getting busy. Our call volume is actually starting to pick up. You're seeing more people out and about. And one of the things we want to do is we want to make sure that we're educating the students that are coming in. Some of them are living on their own for the first time, cooking on their own for the first time. And so we want to make sure that they have all the tools that they need to be safe if they have a fire or if they run into any type of problems with smoke alarms going off, cooking. We just want to make sure that they have those tools so they can stay safe.
Well, whenever you're in a new place, and I always think about this whenever I stay at a hotel, you're new to the environment, you don't know where the exits are, you don't know where the safe places are. What are some of the things you recommend students do who may be living in a place they haven't lived before?
Absolutely. That's one of the things we want people to be aware of is what we call EDITH. It's actually, EDITH is an acronym. It stands for Exit Drills in the Home. And this is something we may remember from when we were younger. We ask a lot of students to go home and practice exit drills with their family so they know two ways out of the home. And this really applies for college students. Unfortunately, we're creatures of habit. So when we go into our apartment complex or into our home, we always go the same way in. We forget that our building has two ways out. It could be through a window, it could be down the hall, down another set of stairs. But what we really encourage college students to do is when they get into their new residence, whether it's even the dorms, that they try to figure out what are a couple ways I can get out of this building. For example, if you're on the third or fourth floor of a building, the window is not an option for you. You need to make sure that you have a second way out, perhaps down the hallway at a second set of egress stairs. So we encourage students to make sure they know two ways out and actually go ahead and practice that drill. In the dorms, they'll actually do fire drills. They do 2 a year. And we encourage them during that time to take a different route so you're not going that same way every time, so you know two ways out of your building.
So what do you do if you're an Iowa State student or just anybody living in Ames and you realize your home only has one way out?
That's when you need to get creative and start thinking, do I need to have some type of ladder that I can throw out the window? What are my options? And that's something that the fire department, we're happy to help out. If people have any questions or need help planning the exit drills in the homes, we're just a phone call away, and we're happy to offer any advice or even come out to your home and help do a safety inspection with you and identify those two ways out.
So those life skills you may have learned as a kid, those stay with you all the way through college and beyond.
Absolutely. I'm sure my neighbors kind of get a kick when they see me practicing with my kids at home, getting out the window and just doing a fire drill and going over to the neighbor's mailbox and practicing those things. But those are things that are very important. If we can practice those and drill those in, even as adults, as college students, those are great life skills that can make a difference when you're in a high stress event with smoke and fire and you can't see to get out, to have those skills already in place.
Well, as we talk about moving to a new place, one of the things that I always remember to do when I move to a new place is check those smoke detectors, because you really don't know how the person before you left them, what kind of condition they're in. And testing smoke detectors is just kind of wrapped up into sort of the whole home safety idea.
Absolutely. Smoke detectors save lives. Smoke alarms, yeah, they make a difference. They can actually cut your risk of dying in a home fire by half, which is huge. Just having a working smoke detector. We encourage anyone with a smoke detector to check them monthly. We want to also, when it comes to placement of smoke detectors, we want to make sure that we have one in every sleeping quarter. We want to have them outside the sleeping rooms, and we also want to have one on every floor of the home.
That's a little bit more than in the past. I'd always heard every level of the house, including the basement. And now I don't know if it's new, but I've just reading more about that isn't really enough. A lot of fires happen overnight when you might be sleeping. Having those detectors closer to the sleeping rooms makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. What we're finding out on the national, state, and even local level is that a quarter of all fires, home fires that are reported, actually start in the bedroom. So having a smoke detector in your bedroom is key. This year's fire prevention theme is actually hear the beep where you sleep. And so that's the national level. They're really honing in on making sure that people in the bedrooms can actually hear a fire, the smoke alarm go off, so they can get out quickly.
Well, which makes sense. You're the most vulnerable when you're sleeping. You may not be aware that a fire started. You may not be smelling it. You certainly aren't seeing it. So you've seen that those smoke detectors can make a difference?
Absolutely. In fact, half of all home fires occur between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. in the morning, which that's a substantial amount. So we want to make sure that that's a critical time when you don't have the response time that you would normally do during the day to see a visible fire. You're counting on that smoke alarm to wake you up to let you know that you have a problem.
Well, in addition to fires happening in bedrooms, I think a common place for fires in the kitchen. And as we welcome our students back, we know a lot of them may be cooking for the first time.
Absolutely. I remember I was a little apprehensive cooking the first time I was on my own, but luckily I didn't have any fires or any problems with that. But one thing we want to remind everybody is that your stove is not part of your counter space. Don't, when you get home, set your groceries on it or use it to set boxes. Treat it as though it's hot all the time. Even with little kids, it's a good idea to let them know that the stove is always hot, don't touch it. And if we can do that, that can really help cut down on the number of cooking fires that we have.
And cooking fires are different. I know instinctively a lot of people want to throw water on a fire, and with some cooking fires, that can make it worse.
Yeah, especially with the grease fire. When you throw the water onto a grease fire, on a stovetop grease fire, what you're doing is actually displacing that grease that is on fire, and you're causing that fire to spread. So what we encourage people to do is if they have a container of baking soda or flour, something that they can smother the fire, even just something as simple as putting the lid back on the fire will help cause the fire to die down. You can turn the fire off and prevent it from spreading.
Well, that's another one. I had a very small fire, and it took me a minute to figure out to turn the stove off.
Yeah, something so simple as even just unplugging a device can make the difference in a fire. And cooking fires are actually the leading cause of reported home fire injuries for people, so they're very dangerous. One thing too when it comes to cooking is we want people to be attentive when they're cooking. We don't want them to leave the room, go take a nap. So a couple good ways that we offer up that'll help you remember that you are cooking is set a timer. Obviously, if you have pizza in the oven, set a timer so you have an audio alarm that goes off to let you know that when that pizza's done. We also encourage people, if you forget that you're cooking or you've burnt pizza a couple times, is to go ahead and grab something as simple as a cooking spoon and then carry that around with you. That way you have a visual reminder in your hand of, okay, I was cooking, I need to go back and check on that. But most of all, we want people to stay in the room when you're cooking, watch what you're doing. It's not time to run to your neighbor's house or to take a nap. So really pay attention. That will help cut down on the opportunity for a cooking fire to develop.
Yeah. So people need to use caution when they're cooking for the first time. It's good that information about having flour or baking soda. What about, should people have a fire extinguisher in their kitchen?
Absolutely. We encourage everybody to have a fire extinguisher that's accessible. You can get them at any local retail place. They have them available. If you have any questions on what type to get, we just recommend anything that you can get over the counter is going to be sufficient for a cooking fire. So just, yeah.
And fire extinguishers work on the grease fires as well as a more traditional fire?
Yeah, yep. If you have an ABC extinguisher, it's going to work on a grease fire as well.
So in addition to kitchen fires, what are some other common sources of fires?
So I'm glad you asked that question. Actually, the leading cause of fire deaths in the U.S., reported fire deaths in the U.S., is improperly discarded smoking material. So if you are a smoker or you have smoking material, we want to make sure that you're putting that out under water before you discard it.
Okay. What are some examples of smoking materials?
Simple things is even a lighter or matches, or the cigarette itself, or a cigar. Even just putting it, if you're putting it out in a can that has some sand in it or something like that, just making sure you're discarding it properly.
One place that I know you can learn more about fire safety is the annual Fire Station No. 1 open house.
Yes, so fire prevention is a year-round process. We want everyone to practice fire safety all the time. But during the week of October 4th through the 10th this year, it's actually recognized as National Fire Prevention Week. And this year's motto, like I said, is hear the beep where you sleep. And this year we're actually hosting our third annual open house. It's going to be on Saturday, October 10th. From 9 to noon, and that's going to be at Fire Station No. 1, which is at 1300 Burnett Avenue. We encourage everybody, young and old, to come out, meet the firefighters, see the fire trucks, We're actually going to have a hose there for the kids so they can practice spraying water. And this year we've added a little twist. We're actually going to have some of the kids go through some different stop, drop, and roll, some different fire safety skills, and that's going to allow them to put their name into a drawing that we're going to have where we're going to be giving away some smoke detectors and some fire extinguishers. So an opportunity for a child to win, get something safe for their home when it comes to fire safety.
Well, and the kids, and not even just the kids, I have to say the adults love it. To see that fire equipment up close and personal, to look at a fire truck, to see what's all involved, to see the turnout gear, it's really impressive.
Yeah, I'm lucky in the fact that I get to work at the fire department. I get to see all that stuff every day, and occasionally get to get it out and help the guys on calls. And we're so much more than a fire department too. We get called for everything and anything, and so we have a lot of different tools that I think the public likes to see. Stuff from elevator rescues to EMS supplies to just a chainsaw. I mean, we have a lot of different tools that people like to see and ask questions about how do you use them, and even simple things of why do you have a fan, and people forget about smoke in a home. And so yeah, it's a great opportunity. We love having the public come out and visit us, love to see our neighbors and see our customers.
Great. Well, Rich, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, Susan.
Again, if you want more information on that fire station open house, it is Saturday, October 10th, and you can get more information on our website at cityofames.org. Also, some things to think about as we get into the month of September. Don't forget that there'll be replacement tree planting going on Saturday, September 26th. That is a collaborative project between the City of Ames and the Ames Foundation. You can volunteer to help plant a tree by going to the Ames Foundation website at amesfoundation.org. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for This Week in Ames.